This episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast is brought to you by Jedley's award-winning children's book, The Great Maratini.
A very long time ago, there was a boy named Sam who liked to do his magic tricks, and he was quite the ham. He was called the Great Maratini, the best magician of his age, but his greatest feat took place far away from any stage. Every trick Sam tried to do would somehow come out wrong, but Sam just kept on going, and that's what made him strong. He was called the Great Maratini, the best magician of his age, but his greatest feat took place far away from any stage. One day as he traveled, he helped a stranger in need, and this was not a trick, oh no, but a magical good deed. He was called the Great Maratini, the best magician of his age, but his greatest feat took place far away from any stage. He was called the Great Maratini, the best magician of his age, but his greatest feat took place far away from any stage.
To get your autographed copy of the giant bilingual edition of The Great Maratini, please visit greatmaratini.com.
Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, moni muliwanji, namaste, jambo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We're coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so delighted and so very honored that you are joining us in our mission to help families grow closer through reading. Please be sure to subscribe to the show in the iHeartRadio app, on Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, wherever you find your podcast. Our guest today is Derek Taylor Kent. He is back to the show to celebrate a brand new book. It's called Hysterical Rhymes and How You Can Rhyme Too. Before we invite Derek into the studio, we want to let you know that this episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast is brought to you by Astra, the Lonely Airplane, written by Julie Whitney. This book was a real labor of love for Julie. It was written after her husband lost his job as a pilot during the pandemic. This rhyming picture book, written for children ages 3 to 10, teaches them about flying, math, geography, overcoming difficult situations, and having hope. It comes with a 2-page glossary and a 3-minute video of Captain Dan giving kids a tour of the real Astra. It can be ordered online at Amazon and at bookstores from coast to coast and internationally. To learn more, please visit AstraTheLonelyAirplane.com. Join us right now from Orange County in California. Our guest is returning to the show. He's one of our favorite guests. He's here to celebrate historical rhymes and how you can rhyme too. Please welcome back to our show our friend Derek Taylor Kent. Hey, Derek, how are you?
Wonderful. Thank you, Jedley.
It is so great to see you again.
You
I'm
too.
excited to have you back on the show.
Thanks. It's wonderful to be here. I wouldn't miss it. This is my favorite part of releasing a new book is being on this podcast with you.
So let's talk about the new book, Hysterical Rhymes and How You Can Rhyme Too.
Thank you. This is a special book for me. It's the first collection of poems that I've released. And so it's kind of like when I usually write a book, it's something that I have written, fairly recently, within a year, and it comes out in the next year or so. So it's something that I work on just in that short time. But this is cool because this is something I've been working on my entire life. Since I was about 10 years old, I got really into rhyming and poetry and making my friends laugh with funny poems. So I kind of gathered a whole collection of them that I've written my entire life and put them all together in this one new collection of funny poems for children. And it also is educational because it teaches kids how they can both read and write and understand poetry?
I think this is wonderful. And I think, you're talking about it's a great way for kids to learn how to rhyme and write and to appreciate and to create poetry. I think it's going to be a fantastic book for adults, too, because there are a lot of adults who want to write rhyming picture books. And a rhyming picture book, if it's going to be good and really hold on to people's attention, it has to do more than just have the last two words of the sentences rhyme.
That couldn't be more true. I've heard from my agent and publisher so often that they don't even want to look at rhyming books anymore. And I think the reason is because what they mostly get isn't quite up to professional level poetic form that would otherwise, if people will write them with, like you said, just kind of have the last words rhyme and kind of not worry so much about rhythm and meter and structure and things like that, that make it seem, unfortunately, kind of amateur. And I think they get so inundated with that kind of book that they just said, just please don't send us anything rhyming anymore. Maybe kids just don't like it, but I feel like they do. Like kids are never going to get tired of hearing Dr. Seuss books. And when you hear the Dr. Seuss book, every single book of his is on the exact same Anapest meter. Da 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 da. And to think that I saw it on Mulberry Street. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I am the Lorax. I speak for the trees.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, that's something that I have worked on my entire life. So when my first books were very much like that. I didn't really know anything about that. And I had a teacher in 11th grade who saw I was starting to write kids books back then. And he introduced me to, the real depths of it. And it's like, oh, I really need to learn how to do this. So I started back then getting it into and learning all the different types of rhythms and meters there are out there, and creating books that kind of kept it consistent.
Yeah. One of the things that's interesting is it's not just in rhyming picture books. I know rap is, a new, well, not new anymore, but new for me, came out when I was an old man. A form of music, and a lot of that, I listen to it, and there's rhyming, but it doesn't have the same musicality and melodies as traditional songs. And maybe it's not supposed to, but it's just, I listen to a lot of rap, and there's a lot of rap that is magnificent and that I love, but then there's a lot that just is like, I don't know, it's just like a beat and some words, and some of them rhyme, and there's a lot of vulgarity in a lot of it. But, so I don't know, have we just kind of lost this sense of meter and melody? And
well, I don't think it's something they necessarily teach in schools anymore, that's for sure. I don't think parents probably aren't so excited about their kids learning poetry when they could be learning STEM concepts. So it may be something you learn about real quickly when you're starting to study poems that your teacher but it's not something that's drilled into you and that you have to practice over and over and get good at it. It maybe was something that previous generations did have a competency at. I don't know. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So, it's interesting that you say that. But I think, any parent out there that's thinking, yeah, I don't want my kid to worry about poetry. I'd rather work on the STEM fields. And we love the STEM fields here, and we want to encourage kids to explore that. Okay. But there's song, there's rhythm, there's meter that taps into a part of your brain. And if you exercise that muscle in your brain, I think you're going to be able to use that part of your brain when you get into the STEM fields. And maybe that sense of rhythm, you might be noticing some things that are happening, some patterns that are happening in the STEM field that you're choosing that other folks wouldn't notice and that maybe you wouldn't have noticed if you didn't have this sense of poetry.
Yeah, there is a mathematical element to it for sure. Just like with music. Music is all kind of, you break it down, it's all kind of mathematics when it comes down to measures and notes length. It's interesting how that all kind of combines. And you can use rhyming and rhythm and songs, things like that to help study. I used to do that all the time to help memorize things. You create little rhymes in your heads to remember historical events, things like that. And I even wrote a bunch about them in my book. Some of the things that I use to help remember facts, I actually ended up putting in hysterical rhymes and how you can rhyme too. I'll show you guys the cover right here.
Yeah. Do you have an example of one of those poems that helped you learn?
Yeah, sure. There's one I wrote about Benjamin Franklin. There he is right there, if anyone watching on video.
All right.
Ben Franklin was quite the eccentric. He contended that lightning's electric. With a key and a kite on a dark, stormy night, he was right. What an excellent trick.
Very cool.
That was a little limerick. I have a whole section of limericks in here. I had some trouble with math when I was growing up. So my dad was amazing at math, and he used to teach me all these different tricks to make it easier. So this is one called Math Tricks.
Okay.
I used to think that math was hard. Each test I took, I blew it. But then I learned some tips and tricks that made it fun to do it. When squaring things that end in 5, impress your friends with this cool trick, like 25 times 25 or 85 times 85. Can you do it in a lick? Here's the trick. Remember this. They always end in 25. Try it on your calculator. Take it for a drive. Just multiply the digit with the number next in line. 2 times 25 is 2 times 3, and 85 is 8 times 9. 25 times 25 is just 2 times 3, then 25. 85 times 85 is 8 times 9, then 25. Do you have the answer yet? It's almost hard to miss. 625 and 7225. There's dozens more fun tricks like this. Oh, what numeric bliss.
And when did you, is this one of the poems that you wrote when you were a youngster?
Yeah, that one I think I kind of put together back when I had fun in high school. I was looking up a bunch of math tricks and stuff when I was, going through the more difficult times of it. So that was a fun one to do. That I was just like, I kind of always remembered that fun trick when I was learning my multiplication tables, because they'd ask me, they'd learn the basic ones, but then I'd like, ask me a hard one. But make sure it ends in 25 or it ends in 5. That's end in 5 though. And then they were just like, get blown away.
Very cool. Very cool. Now you said that, you started writing poems when you were 10. Do you actually have a poem in the book that was written when you were 10?
Let's see. Yeah, this is actually one right here. This is one of my favorite ones in the book, too. It was about, I had a best friend when I was around that age named Ryan. And we used to sit and write poems together. It was our fun things to do, just make each other laugh with poems we'd write. And sometimes we'd read them in class and stuff. And so we were such good friends, we'd write poems about each other. So this is one I wrote called Ryan, Chicken Fryin'. So I just was I like making up, like fun rhymes with his name.
Sure.
Said, Ryan, chicken fryin', loves to fry, and I'm not lying. He's the king, though not so royal, king of fryin', foul and oil. Ryan, chicken fryin', doctor said, guess what? You're dying. If you fry once more with oil, you'll end up down deep in soil. Ryan, chicken fryin', no fry cooking, he was trying. Made himself a chicken boil. It was awful with no oil. Ryan, chicken fryin', lots of cookbooks he was spying. Baked a chicken wrapped in foil. Still no match for deep fried oil. And it goes on like this about all the different ways he tries to cook chicken.
Awesome.
Before he finally is or he's finally cured and can go back to frying it.
Oh, man. What a great compliment to your friend. He must have been maybe at first annoyed, but delighted that you would think that much of him, that you would spend that time writing that poem.
Oh, we used to write skits together. We were just like kind of just have creative weekends together where we'd like stay at each other's houses and just write skits and perform it for our families and for the class. And that was just like a part of it. It's just like writing silly rhymes.
That's wonderful. Hey, one of the things that I used to do when I was a kid was I would rewrite popular songs. So there would be a melody. And I remember there was a Joni Mitchell song that I rewrote. I think, I don't even remember how she wrote it, but mine was about vultures flying. And it was just a lot of fun, and the structure was already there, so that meter was kind of already there. Is that something kids could do to, just kind of get into the habit and start flexing that rhyming muscle?
Oh, I love doing that. I think kids everywhere kind of do it naturally. They'll take a song they love and just make their own words to it all the time. The kids will go around saying their own funny versions of it. I used to do, when I was a kid, I used to have my own lyrics to Take Me Out to the Ball Game. I never sang Take Me Out to the Ball Game. I sang a very different version that I thought was hilarious. It was called Eject Me from the Ball Game. And it was about just doing things that would get me ejected from the stadium.
Awesome. Well, this has been a lot of fun. I think it's been very educational too. We've been having a great time speaking about all things rhyme and poetry and how to create really quality rhyming picture books for kids. And we've been speaking with the author of Hysterical Rhymes and How You Can Rhyme Too. The author is our friend Derek Taylor Kent. Hey, Derek, thanks so much for being with us again.
Thank you. See you later, Jedley.
Please be sure to join us for the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Amy Cavalleras. She'll be here to celebrate Good Morning Little One, a great new picture book from our friend Amy Cavalleras. Hey, if you are the author of a fantastic children's book, we would love to invite you to visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com. When you go there, there's a button at the top of the page that says Authors, click here. By clicking on that button, you're going to be able to find out how you can be a guest here on Reading with Your Kids podcast. It's fun, it's easy, it's a wonderful way to tell thousands of people about your fantastic children's book. Imagine that. And check it out. It doesn't cost a thing. No need to pay anybody to facilitate your visit. Just go to readingwithyourkids.com. Oh, you can also find out about our Certified Great Read program. If our panel believes that your book is worthy of 4 or 5 out of 5 stars, it becomes a Certified Great Read. And with that status comes a number of really powerful tools to let families know that your book is worthy of their consideration. Also, you can learn about our promotional packages. We can create a wonderful package for you that will celebrate your book here on the podcast through commercials. We can celebrate your book through messages to our 75,000 plus social media followers, and also display your book on our nationwide network of digital pedestrian billboards. We have billboards in Boston, Atlanta, Los Angeles, Sacramento, Albany, New York, Toledo, Ohio. What a great way to let people know about your book. You can learn all about this and more by going to readingwithyourkids.com. And really, in the very, very near future, we're going to be launching a brand new Patreon page, a special VIP author suite that's going to have some wonderful resources to help you become a better author and also help you better understand the business of being an author. Because if you don't know it already, you are in business. You are the CEO of your children's book. And we want to give you some help and some support. Derek Taylor Kent is going to be adding some more wisdom about writing rhyming books there. You can find all that. So keep your eye out. We don't have a launch date yet, but it's in the very near future. So be sure to go to readingwithyourkids.com. Want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful. Of course, we're going to start by thanking our guest, Derek Taylor Kent. Please be sure to check out Hysterical Rhymes and How You Can Rhyme Too. Also want to thank our sponsor, Astra, the Lonely Airplane by Julie Whitney. Want to thank my team, Alejandro Doherty, Fatima Khan, Rory Grady, Skylar Strauss. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, we all want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.
Yeah.